Hi and welcome, Todd Cahill. You're listening to the It's Not Out There, but It's In You podcast, where on this podcast we talk all about the battles that we all face in our life and really how the battles that we face affect us and how we can think differently about each battle and start redefining its meaning so we can start relinquishing its power over us. See, it's a choice you have to make every day to become the best you. So we want to help you return to the battle at hand, the issues that you face, redefine what their meanings are, and then repeat the cycle over and over in order to keep winning the battle that you face. So stay tuned. So glad you're here. Thanks for listening. All right, welcome and thanks so much for listening to this podcast. I know there's obviously a lot of podcasts, and we're so grateful that you're listening to this one particular today. My name's Todd Cahill, and I'm going to be doing this podcast today, and this is an interesting type of podcast. I don't know where we found you in life, but the name of my podcast is called It's Not Out There, It's In You, and I really mean that because I really believe that the biggest battles that we face are not out there. You know, it's not the circumstances, it's not the challenges, maybe it's in your business, maybe it's in your relationships, it's obviously going to happen. Life, it's just going to be filled with a ton of challenges. There's no question about it. And as you listen to this today, I want to really be able to relate with you. And what's hard for me is to really get vulnerable. And that's really the challenge that I've had. I wanted to challenge myself to do a podcast because I've just always been known, to be a very driven person. And if you know me, obviously you probably know that through my social media. And if you don't know me, if this is the first time that you're listening to the podcast, obviously we really appreciate you listening. And I just want to add tremendous value to you in a way that maybe some other podcasts don't. Maybe the personal development podcasts that are good, but you're not really getting the meat and potatoes of what you can really apply right away to your life. And I do believe that the biggest battles that we're going to face, I believe there's about 12. And that's why I wrote the book, You Versus You, the 12 Ways to Kick Your Own Ass and Win, which comes out February 19th, 2019 in retail. And I'll do a pre-launch, probably mid-January and towards the beginning of February on that so that you can purchase the book and a bunch of the cool offerings that we have to offer. But the reason I wrote the book is the reason I'm doing this podcast is because when I look into people and I see the pain, and I see the pain of really what they're going through. And we have to separate the pain from what is someone going through now, kind of separate it from, okay, why are you going through that pain? Is that a self-sabotage? Is that because you caused that pain? Is that because you made unwise choices? Or is that pain just because it's really outside of your control? And there definitely is a difference. And our self-inflicted wounds, we want to try to avoid at all times. So today, what I want to talk about is success. This is a topic that obviously so many people have talked about. Thousands of years, the Bible, a great book is Ephesians, or Ecclesiastes, I should say, where the wisest man on earth talks about success, from his point of view back to, 2,500 years ago, 3,000 years ago, whatever it is. King Solomon. And, here we are in 2018 going into 2019. How do we define success? So as you're listening to this podcast, I want you to really understand something, that I'm not here to talk just to help you with some struggles you face here and there. My goal and my focus is to really inspire you and give you the meat and potatoes, like I said, and really give you tools and resources available that you can win. You can win the battle of you versus you. You can actually win your life inch by inch. And I don't care if that's financially. I don't care if it's your own persona. I don't care if it's your success or significance. We're going to talk about that today. Success. What is success to you? And I think to really begin this podcast, I'm going to ask you, when is the last time you've actually defined success? I think so many people think success is money. It's just wealth. It's just these materialistic things. And obviously, the older you get, the wiser you become. Well, not necessarily, but I mean, hopefully, the older you get, the wiser you become through, experience and learning from your experiences and learning from your failures, etc. But I think a lot of people just they can't even define success. They don't know what they're chasing. And one of my favorite speeches of all time was Matthew McConaughey's speech. If you go to YouTube, you can check it out, which I highly recommend you do. And of course, this is when he won the Academy Award for Dallas Buyers Club, and what a great movie. And him and Jared Leto, just did a great job. But his speech, when he won Best Actor in 2004, again, it's one of my favorite Oscar speeches of all time. And sometimes when I want to get motivated, maybe I'm having a bad day or something, I'll turn that on and just watch it for 5 minutes. But it's really one of my favorite of all time. He started by saying that there are 3 things, that he needs each day. And one, someone to look up to. And I really do. Once I define success, and really for me, success has changed over the years. It's always been kind of go after your dreams and goals and be successful, take care of your family, especially as a man. I've always wanted to take care of my children, take care of my wife, and, live a good life and not worry about money. But, at the same time, it's like, okay, what if I did all that and died? Would I really have significance? Would I really be able to look back in my life? Or even if I'm 95 years old and I'm like, okay, I got all this achievement. I got this, I got that. I did all this. Do the people that love and care about me the most really respect me the most? And how many people would come to my funeral? And as an introvert, currently as I do this, when I say introvert, I'm an extrovert introvert. I have a very difficult time actually having success in relationships, to be honest with you. I mean, I like people, but I get overwhelmed sometimes with people. And I also get overwhelmed with people's attitudes towards success, because I've always been driven and I've always been the one to go after it and, go crush it. And of course, I've learned my lessons in that process so much. And like Matthew McConaughey, talks about, like, he needs 3 things. He needs someone to look up to. He also needs something to look forward to, and he needs someone to chase, right? So when I don't find that in people, when I just find this kind of wandering generality in people where they're just kind of like a deer in headlights when it comes to just their own life, and they don't even know what success looks like. They don't even know what significance. They're not even on the right path. They're not even in the right world, so to speak, it seems like sometimes. And they're just like, yeah, I think I want. I was like, well, what's your why? I've asked that people so many times in my career, sitting down with them and going over the business that I'm, a part of and have been in my past. I've asked, so many people that question, like, why do you want to do this business? And everyone says, well, financial freedom. I'm like, what does that mean to you? And like, I don't know, pay my bills. Take care of my mom, okay, cool. But what is your definition of success? So we've got to define that. So Matthew McConaughey, again, goes into, these 3 things, which we're going to use it as the premise of this episode today. Is I think if you want to be successful in life, you have to define it. You've got to really be concise. You have to really just be clear about what is success to you, because success to you might not be the same to me and vice versa. It might not be the same to society. Success to an evangelist could be saving souls for the kingdom of God. Success for a businessman could be making X amount of money. And a good businessman would have, a kind of a goal on how many people he wants to help. Maybe it's philanthropy. Maybe it's giving back to your community, whatever it is. And again, so many people over the years have said, their why. But when I really ask them the question is, what's the most important thing to you right now? They have a hard time with that because they don't really know. And then, of course, when I ask, what is your definition of success? Or like, they kind of give me I call it the Disney World answer. It's like, oh, I just want to help people, and this is, a grown man, grown woman. This isn't a 12-year-old or a 9-year-old. This is a grown person that's saying, I just want to help people. Okay, how can you help people if you're not successful, or if you're not even on the path to be successful? What is, that look like? Okay. So, he goes on to say when he was 15 years old, he said, someone asked him, who's your hero? And after thinking about it, he responded with, it's me in 10 years, right? 10 years later, at 25 years old, the same person asked him, are you a hero? And he said, not even close. My hero is me at 35. He explained that every day, every week, every month, and every year of his life, his hero is always 10 years away. He's never going to be his hero, okay? He's never going to obtain it, which is fine because it gives him somebody to keep chasing. Now, I like this idea that Matthew, and I'm pretending that we're on the same first name basis, right? He was driven by the propulsion itself, which really resonated with me. Okay, he was driven by that idea. And he's in constant state of movement, always trying to catch up to his better and more evolved self. As if success is about becoming, not being. Now, the reason I'm saying this and kind of pausing is because I want to repeat some of the things that I'm saying to you so you really get this on a subconscious, conscious level when you're listening to this podcast. Because, again, if you can just get past the definition of success and what it really means to you, I think you can become a success. And I think we get so busy in the consuming. And as I record this, is actually Black Friday, and just the people all over the country right now just consuming and buying, and when they get home and they show off their spoils, right, and all the things that they bought, maybe on credit card, or maybe even got into financial ruin in the future. They don't even realize it now. They're not going to be happy through the consuming of these materialistic products or things or clothing or electronics and stuff like that. Sure, it might make them happy for the day or the week, and maybe might make their life easier and something. But at the end of the day, if you're not growing, I'll just keep it simple. If you're not growing, you're not going to be happy. So happiness is, it's a feeling, and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? I think happiness is something that is inside of you always if you are propelling yourself to something great. We as human beings, we have vision. And without vision, people perish. So if we don't have something to look forward to, if we don't have someone to look up to, and if we don't have something to, kind of chase after, what is the point of living? Because if you take our physical characteristics, like we're physical beings, right? We have a mind, we have a body, we have things, appendages and organs that are constantly in the need of movement. We have a body that needs food constantly. And of course, you can eat the right foods and you can eat the wrong foods. So we have to be in constant movement. That's why I work out all the time. I might have a great workout and then eat some bad foods that day. And then the next morning I'm like, oh my God, I can't even notice a difference anymore of my workout yesterday. I got to work out even harder. So once I understand not only working out, but eating right and keeping moving forward, that's going to propel my life in other areas of my life, right? So, that's something that I like. That's why I like his speech. Again, it really resonated with me because he's in a constant state of movement, always trying to catch up to his better and more evolved self. So visualize your better and more evolved self. What does that look like? What does it look like for you, someone that can see the future, is futuristic, but at the same time lives in the present moment, lives in the moment of their truth, and is also truthful about what they want out of life and follows that in a very ethical and disciplined manner, okay? But the old adage is this: if we're not growing, we're dying. I mean, I've had a coach for many years, and he always told me, Todd, you're either growing in life or you're decaying. And it's the same thing in nature. If you look at a tree, if you look at something that's alive, flowers or whatever, if they're not watered properly, they're going to die. If they're not growing, they're going to die. And yes, we're all going to die. Okay, that is definitely no debate, even though people do want to live forever. I don't want to live forever. I want to live a significant life, whatever those years are total, that people remember me by. I've made a significant impact. And of course, and most important, my closest family, my closest friends love and respect me the most. Because it wasn't just a social media facade. It wasn't just me writing good content, putting out good podcasts, writing a good book that, was meaningful, but I didn't truly live my life that way. And I got to tell you, 2018 has been a very challenging year. I have been through, I would say the past 2 years, if it wasn't for this philosophy, like Matthew McConaughey said, of who's mentoring me and who am I chasing after and how am I growing, there's so many times in the past 2 years that I could get sucked into the decay, and I could have got sucked into the woe is me mentality and the challenges that I've had. And just to give you an idea of some of the challenges, because I don't by any stretch of the imagination mean to demean any of your challenges, because there's a lot of probably listeners out there that are listening to me and saying, oh my gosh, he doesn't know what I've been through, compared to maybe what I've been through. And I'm not here to do that, but I'm here to give you some context of some of the things that I have been through, which are very, very challenging. I recently got married, in 2017. So, as I record this, it's going into 2019, but December of 2018. And so we've been married for about a year and a half. And even before we got married, I remember February of 2017, I was in the shower and I got out and I got a text from my assistant at the time. And she said, "Have you checked your bank account?" And I'm like, no, I mean, I don't check my bank account every day, and I have an assistant, and now my wife is our CFO of the house, so I don't like check it a lot, So I'm like, no, and she's like, well, everything's gone. I'm like, well, what do you mean everything's gone? Everything, like you're at zero. I'm thinking to myself, well, I thought I just had like tens of thousands of dollars in there. What the heck happened? So I'm freaking out. And I don't know if you've ever been in the situation where you've had some news and it's a big deal kind of thing. Like we just bought a house like 2 weeks before that. I put a huge substantial down payment on the house, kind of our dream home that we always wanted, on a golf course, and, has plenty of room for our 3 children and bedrooms and a basement in Illinois and a cool upstairs looking at the golf course and stuff. It's just, everything's big because me and my wife are pretty tall. So high ceilings and stuff like that. So we just loved it. And, we spent a good amount of money on it. We still had some good amount of money left because that's how I wanted to do that. And she was right. I checked my account, $0. And I found out that the IRS was sending me some love notes the past couple months. But since we're moving everything, I never got them. So they took whatever was in that account. Now, I still don't know to this day why they did it because I've paid my taxes every year. Since basically I became an entrepreneur, and still to this day don't even know why. Looked into it, hired a tax attorney. So that was interesting. So February 2017, not even married yet, about to get married in July. So obviously there's a wedding to plan and all this stuff. And again, a lot of you guys have probably had more serious problems than this. Tons of expenses. Already had a thing with the IRS where I'm paying them monthly from past, in the past and stuff like that. That happened. Okay. Get married. All of the outside circumstances. There's been times in the past year and a half, 2 years that I've had 5 different attorneys on retainer. And I don't know if you guys have ever been divorced before, but I went through a very ugly divorce about 4.5 years ago. And we'll get into a lot of this in kind of the relationship podcast, which is the next one with my wife. And we're going to be open and honest and really discuss some of the challenges that we've been through. And really, my wife, Kristen, has been through too, being a new stepmom, basically like right away, kind of an instant family, if you will, like the movie that's out. And how she dealt with that. And I know a lot of you, maybe women on that are listening right now, maybe you married someone who had kids in the past, and maybe you didn't, or maybe you have a blended family, and this how that works out. And some of you have awesome exes that are just as good as they can be, and they're cordial and stuff. I mean, my ex at the time, very, very not as cool as we'd like her to be, basically, and just constantly going after more money and stuff like that. And I'm not here to talk negatively about her. I don't want to do that, the mother of my children, but, there's always, that going on, and, the money side of that and what that looks like. And we've had to hire 4 attorneys on that just to continue to settle financially, even years after, Kristen having to deal with all that. But like I said, I'm going to get into the next podcast. But again, my thing is, what was I chasing at that time to also go through the mental, just mind fuck of all of that. I mean, it was just horrible. And then to go through a marriage, pay for a lot of it, straight out of our pocket, and have our dream wedding, which was a wonderful day. And right after the wedding, just be thrown into work, just again, because I'm an entrepreneur and I'm always hustling, and straight commission on everything I do because I'm an entrepreneur. Just that side of it, just continuing to, not struggle so much, but just hustle, just really work hard. And I started a coaching company. And then right after our marriage, we started another network marketing company because we didn't agree with a lot of the things that were going on. So we work with a company, and then all of a sudden we're getting sued. I mean, we're getting sued, and it's ugly, and we got to hire another attorney, and we got to pay tens of thousands of dollars on that just because we decided to go in the health and wellness sector. And network marketing can definitely be ugly if you're a top leader, if you're leaving a company and going after it. And we didn't even do anything wrong. We just did a Facebook Live. And So it's not like we did, we're soliciting all these people and stuff. And, there's all these things going on. And then October of 2017, literally, my wife separates from me. And, when your wife or husband, separate from you, and if you're married or if you ever had a boyfriend, girlfriend, and there's a breakup or something, you have a lot of time to reflect. You have a lot of time to, take out the notepad and pen and be like, okay, what is my definition of success in my relationships and my marriage and stuff, and, in life, and maybe it's finances or business or your job or your career. It really goes back to your suffering. It's a lot of it's self-sabotage. A lot of it was my anger and anxiety towards a lot of my challenges within and also outside of the things that I can't control. And if it wasn't for meditation, if it wasn't for prayer, if it wasn't for some of the suffering that I had to go through being home alone now at this time for about a month and coaching people, but my wife's not there. She's living with her dad. We're like 3 months. You talk about embarrassing if they ended in divorce after 3 or 4 months of marriage and stuff. And it's my second one. I mean, you're talking about like, what am I doing here? What am I really, really doing here? So through the pain in the past 2 years, and I want to encourage your heart when you're listening to this, I've gone through so much pain that I can really hopefully guide you and be that tour guide, if you will, in helping you, taking you through some of the threshold pain that you're going through right now, and say, look, there is a way out. We've got to get rid of any self-sabotaging decisions that you're making. And we have to start chasing something. We have to get you in a place where maybe you are chasing your wife. Maybe you are chasing a husband. Maybe you are chasing love. And I'm talking about in a good way, not in a stalky way or a bad way. I'm just saying, but at the end of the day, you've got to be chasing growth, and you've got to be chasing your 10-year self that you want to become, that person, that avatar, if you will, of the person that you really want to be. And if you don't define it, if you're not clear on it, then yeah, your marriage might end in divorce. Your relationships might suffer. Your business might suffer. It might not be a long-term business. It might be a short-term business. Then you got to start another one, then another one, then another one, okay? So hopefully that, and guys, tons of other crap has happened. And I think part of it was outside of my controlling. Like, I can't control other people or companies or being sued sometimes and all that stuff. All I can do is react proactively to a lot of that stuff, but I will say a lot of the struggle and the suffering has been a self-sabotage and has been bad choices. And every choice matters. Okay, we have 90,000 thoughts a day. Let's say typically, how many of those decisions do you have to make? I don't know how many tens of thousands of actual decisions you have to make on those 90,000 thoughts a day. We have to make wise choices, okay? So again, how do you define success? How do you define it? When you go through the shit, how are you going to define it? How are you going to get out of it? And what lesson are you going to really learn from it? And how are you going to be the hero? Are you your own hero? We always talk about superheroes, but nobody's a superhero. I think the only superpower we have is choices. We can actually make wiser choices. That is I believe, a power we have. Thank God Almighty, for our free will. So some of the biggest defeats, some of the biggest failures, some of the biggest just suffering that I went through in the past 2 years was because of my unwise choices. Was because I wasn't in that zone of this is what success is to me, and I'm going to stay in that zone, and I'm going to chase after the right things. I'm not going to chase after wealth and money and materialistic things and stuff like that, because that's not going to make my wife very happy. Okay, but if I chase after her, if I chase after my kids, if I chase after God, if I chase after